my goodness, that's so good.
Let me in! Today we are doing our first kind of open big crossing from St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands all the way over to Sint Maarten. Unfortunately, to do that, we've got to do it in some fairly high winds and high seas today. So back in the distance there is USVI. We're actually heading weirdly southeast. Over there, somewhere in the distance that we can't see yet, is Sint Maarten. So we're going at 7 knots right now.
How long is it going to take us?
Literally a day and a half. So settle in, folks.
Just before we were leaving USVI, a good friend of ours, Thompson, came and gave us a care package for our journey. He said it's a tradition that he likes to follow. Somebody once came to him the day before he left on a big long journey and gave him a parcel full of all sorts of useful, practical things, and he liked to follow that tradition, so he came and gave one to us. It was really sweet. Inside there was a note, there was some bits of string, there was some small shackles, there was a line with a hook on it. All these things were absolutely useful. We've used them already. And he had even done some home baking for us. These look so good. I think they're chocolate chip and coconut and some form of biscuity base. I'm not entirely sure what's in them, but lots of sugar and fat, so what can go wrong? Oh my goodness, that was so good. Quite rolly out here. We've been sailing for a while, but we've just put the engines on. We were seeing 40 knots apparent of wind and waves, 2 meters, 2.5. So yeah, it's a little bit more lumpy than we were expecting. We've just come down past St. Croix. We're heading over to Sint Maarten. We'll hopefully get the sails up again when the sun rises. But for now, I get to come and sleep. So we've got our red LED lights everywhere so that we don't ruin our night vision. And we've dropped the table in the saloon so that we can turn it into a bed and we don't have to go down into the cabins. And that's my plan right now. To sleep. Morning. We made it through the night. The sun has risen. We've got the sails up. I've just come off watch and Ian is up on helm. How's it looking today?
Yeah, much better. The waves are a bit more predictable. We're aiming straight for a volcano. What could go wrong? Pretty hungry though.
Yes, we prepped a lot of food before we started on this journey. I knew that I wouldn't want to have to go inside too much. So everything is cleared off the surfaces in the galley. And in the fridge, we've got individual pots of pasta. We've got bagels made up into sandwiches already. And we've got loads of pots of custard and yogurts and things like that that we can grab. So everything is just ready to go. just put the sails down and we're motoring into St Maarten now. We're both absolutely exhausted. It's about 11 o'clock at night. We're going to drop anchor in Philipsburg tonight. It's a bit of an easier anchorage so that we can go in the dark. We will both sleep for a couple of hours, and then when the sun comes up, we'll just lift anchor, move around to Simpson Bay, and then we can clear in, get all the paperwork done, and then get on with our exploring.
Let's go see what's happening.
We're allowed to be here! So we're discovering that it's true what they say, there's always something needing fixed on a boat. We just came into anchor here, and as I dropped the anchor chain, I noticed that the bridle, the rope that goes from the two bows down to the chain, had chafed through on the roller bar of our new anchor. Now, we've only had it on for about 3 weeks now, and obviously when it's actually down on the sea floor, then it's not going to be chafing on anything. So I think it must have just chafed through on our crossing over from St Thomas. So there definitely needs to be a better fix for the way that we store it, because it shouldn't just be sitting and rubbing on the roll bar like that. But before we can do that, we need to do something about the bridle, because currently I think there's only one strand of rope that's actually holding us attached to anything. So we're going to see what mooring lines we've got. Ian's going to jump in and hopefully we can fix up something temporary, and then we're going to have to look at learning how to splice and build ourselves a new bridle, I think. So yeah, that's an extra project for today that we weren't expecting.
This morning was going to be a day off for us. We were going to try and relax, having just finished our crossing. But Briny went for a morning shower, which is off the back of the boat, and came back with some interesting news. The way this boat is designed, our life raft actually lives in this big locker here in the middle of our cockpit. And the idea is we can grab it and throw it over the back of the boat if we have to, in the worst case. Or if the really bad situation of the boat were to capsize all the way over, you can actually walk on the underside of the boat and undo some bolts and pull the life raft out the bottom of the boat. Unfortunately, a couple of the bolts that hold this in place have sheared, meaning that our life raft is currently kind of hanging as if it's about to fall in the sea. While this door's shut, it's way too easy for us to be sailing along and all of a sudden just hear a big splash and look behind us and see our life raft drifting away. It's a bit of a complicated one. We don't really know what to do yet, but fingers crossed we'll come up with something. Oh, and what I didn't mention, this thing weighs an absolute ton. Might need a hand, right? 1, 2, 3. Back towards me. Good. There.
Actually, this view doesn't help at all, because the bar goes along here through this wall and bolts onto the boat the other side of it, so we can't actually see it from here, but you can see how much it's moving. And it shouldn't do that. It's really hard to tell just from looking at that cupboard. I don't think I can see far enough. I think I can see to about here. I need to be able to see to that bit.
What about if we take apart the wardrobe? Always fun when you have to take your entire wardrobe apart at the start of the day.
I love it.
Take all your clothes out. Realise you have too many clothes.
I think that every time we have to sort it out. Ooh, this is a really weird angle.
And after all that, that's the bulkhead. Okay, so the new plan is, in here we've got this little tread kick plate thing. Fun and games.
I mean, of course they switched to flathead screws halfway along. Oh ho ho!
The question is...
No!
Wait.
Put that back on then.
Idea number 3?
Sure.
Under here is like a false floor, and then our batteries live under here. So I'm kind of hoping that with the depth of things, it might take us somehow into that space. Not super optimistic at this stage, but we'll see. Annoyingly, of course, it's a locker, so it's full of stuff, so we need to take everything out to be able to get in and take a look around. Come sail the seas, they said. Enjoy the Caribbean, they said. Paradise on earth, they said. The easy life, they all thought.
They were lying.
All you ever do is swim in the sea and sunbathe.
Hey, swimming in the sea found out this problem.
And it's a solid bulkhead. Where we want to go is down here, but that's a solid wall. Review time. When we try from that wardrobe, we can see up to here, I think. From the step you're standing on, we can only see to less than here. From in here, I can only see to here. This is where I want to be. Let me in. Just want in to get inside and look at the bolts and fix the problem. Okay. What do we do next? What do we do next? So, fun research. Turns out that when Leopard designed this hollow down here is exactly that. It's a dead space. You can't actually get into it. So what we worked out was if we opened up the electrical cupboard and held a phone in between all the wires, that kind of puts you somewhere like down here, and then you can just about get a photo of what's going on. But that picture does tell us that the bolts don't go all the way through the fiberglass. So the bolt that's sheared is actually kind of, I don't know, glued in place or something. Good news, that means there isn't a hole in the boat. Bad news, it does mean that we are probably not going to be able to fix this while we're in the water. This island in particular is still recovering from Hurricane Irma. A whole pile of islands, you might remember, got beaten up pretty bad. But Sint Maarten, yeah, they saw it pretty rough. And there's still loads of buildings that are needing repaired. There's still boats that are sunk in the harbour and in the lagoon. That being said, it's also really promising because you can see the rebuilding that's happening. The people here are still smiling, and there's just tons of optimism that they're going to be able to build it back.
I feel like I have to rectify my expectations, because when I heard that there was a fort here, my Scottish brain goes, oh, that'll be like Edinburgh Castle, like a massive deal, huge visitor centre, thousands of tourists.
I feel like I've been missold the tourist information. What we have here in Scottish terms, and you can Google this if you don't know what it is, we have ourselves a bothy.
There's a cannon.
Okay, yes, there's a cannon.
Bothy with a cannon.
A bothy with a cannon,
becomes
right.
a fort. It's actually really cool. The Dutch built this fort in 1631 because there's a salt pond right behind this. And it's the largest one on the island. And back in the 1600s, they called salt white gold because it was like that valuable. So they just built this to stop all the Europeans coming in and stealing it. And then even like in the 1900s, somebody would go, I guess, into this building. And their job was signal master, so they would just like sit up here and look out, and whenever a ship would come in, they would go and signal the town so they would know which ship it was and where it was coming from. The 70s. So yeah, it's really cool when you know.
Spiky staircase of death. So it's kind of fun. I've never seen cannons on metal bases. This is kind of unusual. I always find they're like corroded away bits of wood.
I think they actually said that essentially these are stupid because the iron would just crack every time they fired the cannon. So yeah, wood is better, but they looked prettier made out of iron. So they had to keep remaking them so that they looked pretty, but they were actually kind of hopeless at being used.
So it's an aesthetic choice.
As everything should be. It's all about fashion.
I don't get it.
What?
Spend all this time building a fort, you lose it a few times, and then when you get bored of being here, you take it apart, sail it to Puerto Rico and rebuild it?
It's recycling.
It's madness.
This is why I love places like this. As you come and you read this very official looking sign, and it tells you that a guy attacked here and he lost his leg and he was called Peg Leg Pete, and then...
Peg Leg Pete.
Yep. And then he became the governor of New York.
What? No kidding.
Told you.
Get on, Peg Leg.
I didn't learn this history in school.
I know, this would have been worth learning. Ooh, also nice sunset.
want to see it.
You don't see it? It's not even worth it.